dry run. Constant long-term monitoring of adverse events after the vaccination is essential. So in a couple of weeks, almost everyone in India gets vaccines. But even though we get vaccines, even after we receive the vaccines, the government it should constantly monitor the whole country of India, um, to see for any troubling or bad events. In the next couple of weeks, the phase 3 trials of the two COVID-19 vaccines tested by the Indian manufacturers are expected to be submitted for emergency use approval. Um, in a couple of weeks, as I said, almost everyone in India will get the vaccines. But also in a couple of weeks, phase 3 data of two COVID-19 vaccines, which were tested by the Indian manufacturers, are expected to be submitted for emergency use approvals. And there are two other vaccines, and there are two other vaccines in India which have passed the phase 3 trial test. And now the next move is that they need to be tested for the emergency use, and if that gets approved, it's a good sign. If even one of these vaccines gets the approval, a countrywide rollout to immunize the four high risk groups, starting with healthcare workers, will begin soon thereafter. Yeah, and as I said, if these vaccines get the approval, it's a huge deal, because then almost everyone in India could get the vaccine eventually. Um, but the Indian government, it will follow the prioritized list. Um, the and that list contains of four members, and one of them are the healthcare workers, like doctors and nurses and so on. India has been vaccinating millions of young children with a variety of vaccines each year, and hence has the entire system in place to roll out a new vaccine under the universal immunization program. So this is not the first time that India has faced such a situation in which it needs to distribute vaccines. It has distributed vaccines several number of times in many situations. So the distribution of vaccines of so the distributions of so the distribution of vaccines to India is not that big challenge. But this time is the first time a vaccine to be administered outside the program, and especially for adults, is to be rolled out. But even though, as I said that, this time is not the first time that India is distributing the vaccines. Even though this actually is the first time when India is distributing the vaccines only to a particular groups of people. For example, in a couple of months, India will be distributing vaccine only for adults. Since several aspects of the COVID-19 vaccination program are new, vaccinating millions of adults belonging to specific groups, administering two doses of the vaccine a few weeks apart, and the process of enrolling the recipients and rolling out the immunization program, the government has rightly decided to undertake a dry run for the vaccine administration. Um, the distribution of vaccine is obviously a very complex task, because it contains so many levels and so many things to do. Um, um, when India when India distributes the vaccine, it will again distribute the vaccine to adults of specific groups, like senior citizens and so on. And it has been distributing vaccines to children already. The dry run is expected to be initiated this week in four states. And the dry run, or the process in which they will be giving away the vaccines, or the distribution of vaccine, will start. And it will start it will start this week in four states: Andhra Pradesh, Assam, Gujarat, and Punjab. It will allow the administrators to test the vaccination process and check the usage of the COVID 19 platform for the management of the entire vaccination process, including data entry, allocation of date and time, and time, and a drill of these session sites with the test beneficiaries. Um, as I said, the dry run starts in 1 week in four states: Andhra Pradesh, Punjab, Gujarat, and Assam. And this dry run allows the administrators to test the vaccine's efficacy or its process in defeating the virus. Check the usage of the COVID-19 platform for management of the entire vaccination process, including the data entry, allocation of the date and a time, and the drill session sites with test beneficiaries. And in this dry run, all arrangements or the preparations for the distribution of the distribution of the vaccine will be readied up. The linkages between planning, implementation, and reporting mechanisms will also be tested. And along with the process and along with the planning of the process, the process will also be tested. Since four high-risk groups have been prioritized to receive the vaccine, the first task is to register the recipients on the CoWIN platform. As I said, India will be distributing the vaccines in a list of prioritization, and in the dry run, which is to be starting this week in the four states. The dry run also contains all the information about the four groups who are prioritized. Unlike vaccinating children under the Universal Immunization Program, the COVID-19 vaccine will be administered to 100 adults at each designated site on predefined date and time. So, unlike the last time when India distributed vaccines to children in the country India, this time everything will be planned ahead. Now India will be distributing vaccines to 100 adults at first, and all of the information of the date, time, and location, everything will be noted down in the data platform of the dry run. When more than one vaccine becomes available, it is essential to ensure that people receive the same vaccine twice. And also, by the way, this vaccine is a double dose vaccine. When every single person in India gets one vaccine, India should also make sure that all of them also get the second dose of the vaccine. Checking and reporting of all adverse events immediately and days after the vaccination is essential. All the more as no COVID-19 vaccine has undergone long-term follow-up for safety during the trial. Even though if everyone receives the vaccine in India, it is still very important uh, to check for the aftermath effects or the adverse effects which the people could gain because of the side effects of the vaccine, or if the vaccine did not defeat COVID-19 or any conditions like that. Both the vaccines that are at an advanced state of testing in India do not require ultra low temperature for delivery and storage. So a good thing about the vaccines which were developed in India are that normally almost all the vaccines they would need cold temperature to be stored. But these vaccines they don't need any cold temperature to be stored, or they don't even need any low temperature while they are being delivered from each while they are being delivered to each person. And that's a very good thing mainly in India, because the temperatures in India are way too high. Hence, the existing facilities of the universal immunization program in the most districts can be used for storing the vaccines. Um, as the plan is to vaccinate 300 million people in four high-risk groups, 600 million doses will be required. So, as I said, India has a list of prioritization. Um, now, 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 um, all the four members or all the four groups in the list, all of them would need three. All of them would be about 300 million people. So, the number of vaccines required will be into two of that, which means 600 million, because this vaccine is a double dose vaccine. This exercise should therefore look at creating additional storage capacity at these facilities to store millions of COVID-19 vaccines as facilities for vaccine storage and cannot be dedicated to a single vaccine. So India should also be ready with it should also be ready with the storage capabilities, because 600 vaccines for 600 million vaccines for 300 million people is a huge deal to create space for. Thank you.